Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Today our topic is about poetry. Have you ever written a poem before, Rosaline?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so how did you feel after writing that poem?
Feel great.
Okay, no, so you feel great upon writing or composing a particular literary work, no? So it helps us assert ourselves, no, when we are producing a work of art, no? So it becomes us, no? So it is an expression of ourselves. Okay, so there are different literary forms, but of course, poetry is one that in which we can express ourselves creatively. Okay, now before we proceed to our lesson about poetry, let us first have a review about our previous lesson, figures of speech. Okay, Rosalind, can you still remember what is figures of speech, or what are figures of speech, or what particular type in the figures of speech can you remember or very striking to you?
Other types of figures of speech is simile,
Simile, yes. No,
metaphor,
so when we say simile, that is what?
mm, used like in a sentence.
Okay, so you use like in order to compare two objects or persons. Okay. How about metaphor? What is the difference of simile from metaphor? Uh, Rosalind. Oh, what is the difference? It is both comparing or comparison
Yes.
of two unlike things. So what's the difference? No, with metaphor, how do we compare? We do it what? Oh, you have forgotten. We do it directly, no? So it is a direct comparison of two unlike things. So we do not use the word like or as. Okay, now. So of course I mentioned about or I reviewed about the figures of speech because in poetry we use the figures of speech, no? Because as you can see, poetry is a pattern form of verbal or written expression of ideas in concentrated, imaginative, and rhythmical terms that often contain the elements of sense, sound, and structure, and it is considered as the oldest literary form. No? So before we were able to write it, no? So or put it into writings. No? So we have this oral tradition. No? So from our forefathers, no? We have this literary poem, I mean literary work, which is poetry. We are going, for example, they have composed a particular poem because it is a significant part of history. No? So uh, they relay it to their family, and so that is called oral tradition because from that particular generation we pass it on to the next generation, so in oral form at first, so uh, of course the later generation, so we have of course discovered writings, okay. The next is a discussion, a deeper discussion of poetry. So, Rosalind, can you read poetry?
Poetry has implied meanings which are evoked in the carefully considered as the most difficult and most sophisticated of all literary genres. Oftentimes, it is briefly reading, but it suggests
Connotations.
connotations. It is more other literary terms.
Okay, so uh, when we say sophisticated, sometimes you cannot easily really identify, so what is the meaning of that work, okay, so of that genre, no? So you have to decipher the meaning of that. You have to get involved with the poem in order for you to better understand its meaning. Okay, so it has connotations, yes, no? Because most of the a poet, use connotation or the hidden meaning of the word, implied meaning of the word. So it's like giving the readers or the audience, that part of trying to discover now the deeper meaning of that word, phrase, or stanza. Okay, next we have the elements of poetry. No? So the sense of the poem. So we have already tackled about connotation. No? So connotation, of course, is the suggested meaning or implied meanings. No? So not derived from the dictionary. And then the denotation is the dictionary meaning of the word. So the exact meaning of the word which you can find in any dictionary. Okay, but we use that in the poem also, both the denotation and the connotation. Okay, so next slide, please read, Rosalind, the next slide.
The imagery is the use of sensory details or descriptions that appeal to one or more of the senses: sight, touch, taste, and smell. These are otherwise known as senses of the mind.
Okay, no, so the imagery, sensory images, no? So we have already tackled that in our past lessons about imagery. So we use, of course, the five senses in order for us to be able to describe in details what happened during that time. So uh, maybe we are part of the story, so or the poem, so we also witness, no? We are also witness of that particular experience. So we describe the details, okay, of what was happening during that time. Okay, next we have,
The sound of a poem. Tone color is achieved through repetition. Repetition of single sounds, alliteration, and assonance.
okay, no? So when we say alliteration, that is the repetition of similar and accented sounds at the beginning of words. Okay, so if it is alliteration, we have to make sure that it is at the beginning of the words. And then when you say assonance, what is that? It is a similar accented vowel sounds. Okay, so next we have the consonants. So consonants is the repetition of similar consonant sound, typically within or at the end of words. Of course, when we say, because from the word consonant, also that is consonant sound. Okay, and then rhyme. Okay, what is rhyme? It is the repetition of the same stressed vowel sounds and any succeeding sounds and words. Okay, so this is very popular. No? So when you compose a poem, there is a rhyme, meaning there are two syllables at the end of each line that is similar in sounds. Okay.
Types of rhyme. Internal rhyme and terminal rhyme. Internal rhyme is a rhyme within the line, while terminal rhyme that found at the end of the line.
Okay. No, so the internal is rhyme within, no, the line. No? It is internal. Okay. And then the terminal is the rhyme found at the end of the line. Okay. And we have this what we call rhyme scheme, no? The pattern of a rhyme from the form that ends a stanza or a poem. So the rhyme is designated by a letter of the alphabet, no, for each new rhyme. Okay, so we will see that in the next slides. Rosalind.
Repetition of words, for example, my dreams are dreams of thee, fair maid,
Okay,
from rural maid.
from rural maid. Okay, my dreams are dreams of thee. So what are the words that are repeated? What is the word that is repeated?
My dreams.
Okay, so
My
my
dreams.
dreams. No?
Dreams only.
Okay, dreams. Okay, how about sentences? Example of uh, repetition of sentences or phrases
I dream that one day our voice
will be heard.
will be heard, and I dream that one day our hope.
Okay, so what are the what is the phrase that is repeated?
I dream that one day
Okay, I
our.
dream that one day our. Okay, thank you, Rosalind. Okay, now we proceed with the rhythm. Rhythm is the pattern of beats created by the arrangement of stressed and unstressed syllables. This gives musical quality and adds emphasis to certain words and thus helps convey the meaning of the poem. So the effect is derived from um, the sound that is employed. Okay, so the rhythm, no? It's like music, and that is why a poem has musicality in it, although there is no accompaniment. Okay, so it is not a song, but it is somehow like a song because of its rhythm, and sometimes because of the beat, no, that is produced by the rhythm. We can dance, no, with the poem. Okay, next.
Meter is a regular recurrence of the stressed and unstressed syllables that give a line of poetry a more or less predictable rhythm. Its unit of measure is termed as foot, which is usually accented syllable and unaccented syllables.
Okay, no, so there is a meter in the poem, no? So we do not use only the meter in measuring, for example, the measure of a table, but there is also meter in the poem. So for the that is used for the unstressed and stressed syllables, the accented syllable and unaccented syllables. Okay, so now we have the table of metrical feet. Okay, can you read what is the name of foot and the pattern of accent, Rosaline?
Name of foot lambic, pattern of accent, unaccented or accented. Name of foot truncated, accented, unaccented. Anapestic, unaccented, unaccented, accented. Dactylic, accented, unaccented, unaccented.
And
Spondaic,
spondaic.
spondaic, accented, accented.
Okay, both accented. No, so with this both accented, there is strength in it. No, so there is force. So for example, Rotersus and Badilius. Okay, Rotersus and Badilius. Okay, so both are accented. No? Okay, so it produces strong sounds. Okay, so foot is the basic unit consisting of a group of three syllables. Okay, so now may I ask Rotersos or Rotersos, come here. Please read the table of line lengths. Okay, make your voice louder. Okay, when it is 1 foot, what is that? The measure.
Manometer.
Okay, we call it monometer. 2 feet is?
Diameter.
Or diameter.
Diameter.
3 feet?
Diameter.
Trimeter. Okay, how about 4 feet?
Hindi ko mausap.
Tetrameter.
Tetrameter.
Okay, 5 feet?
Pentameter.
Pentameter. 6 feet is heptameter. Hexameter, I mean. And 7 feet is heptameter. And 8 feet is octameter. Okay, thank you, Tersos. May I ask Salve? Oh, natural. Okay, natural. Come here. Oh. Okay, so what are the types of poetry? As you can read. Oh. Oh. Make your voice louder.
Lyrics poem. Narrative poem is a poem that tells a story.
But that is pronounced as poem. Poem. Okay, narrative poem is a poem that tells a story. Okay, the next.
Lyrics poem is descriptive or expository and nature where the poet and concern mainly with presenting in words.
Okay, now so lyric poem. Descriptive or expository in nature. So the poet is concerned with presenting beauty, no, in words, or for example, the nature. So you present the nature, you describe what is in the nature or what is around you. Okay, so the beauty of the surroundings, the environment. Okay, next we have, may I have Salve? Okay, so what is a dramatic poem?
Dramatic poem is a poem where a story is told through the verse dialogue of the
Characters,
characters and narrator.
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 Okay, no, so dramatic poem. Okay, so can you give me examples of a dramatic poem? Oman, huh? Can you give me example of a dramatic poem? Okay, so we have what we call uh, declamation, no? So declamation, that is a dramatic poem. So there is a narration in the declamation, and there are also lines or dialogue, also, but performed by only one actor or actress. Okay, so next, okay. So, poem appreciation is achieved not only when one has comprehended the plain sense or information communicated by the poem, it is also achieved if the attitude and feeling conveyed are captured, together with the meaning of work. Possible when the two meanings are discerned. So when you are able to discern or decipher, the meaning of the lines, that are in the each stanza, the lines in each stanza, so you will be able to appreciate the poem and the poet. Okay, so because the poet, so gives us the message of the poem. So whatever is in the mind of the poet, he expresses it through his literary work. So we can appreciate his work. Okay, so the each line in the poem, and then of course the poem. Tone is the writer's attitude toward his subject, mood, and moral view. It is the feeling that the poem is created in the reader. It is communicated by the writer's or speaker's attitude toward his subject, his imagined audience, or himself. It is the emotional coloring which is indicated by the speaker's voice, the tone of the speaker's voice. So, the tone, first and foremost, reflects the attitude, of the poem and, of course, the writer or the poet. So there is this mood that we say, the aggression, for example, and there is also the moral view. So we can um, identify, in the lines and the words that were used in the poem that it has this morality, in it. Okay, so um, also the feeling, so for example, if it is a happy poem, a sad poem, an angry poem, okay, so we can detect it, by the way it is interpreted, not only by the one who recites it, but of course while reading the poem, so we can feel, the deep emotions that are of course imparted to us by the poet. Okay, and lastly, symbol. It is an image that becomes so suggestive that it takes on much more meaning than its descriptive value. It urges the reader to look beyond literal significance of the poem statement of action, the connotation of the word or the repetition, the placement and indications of emphasis. No? So symbol, there is symbol in it. No? So sometimes that the poet, um, use a symbol. So this particular, for example, this flower, the flower is a symbol of a feeling maybe or an intention. So it can be a white flower. You can say that the intention of the author is to have peace, with a person, particular person, that maybe he has in conflict with. Okay, so, or maybe it is an expression of love towards the beloved. Okay, so you use the symbol of a flower in expressing the love of the poet to the beloved. Okay, so maybe this is enough for now. So let us uh, enjoy also composing and reading poems, expressing our feelings and emotions, and giving a positive message to our readers. Bye.